Hey, how's it going everyone? This is Lam here. In today's Fuji Friday, there's really not that much news to talk about, but I do want to talk to you a little bit about the 16-80 f4 because I've gotten a chance to actually use that. I'm still waiting on my pre-order of that lens because I pre-ordered kind of late, but I got a chance to shoot on a friend's camera. He was actually using an X-T2, and I gotta say the X-T2 is still a really great camera. If you don't need autofocus for video, I think it's still a really solid camera, and if you can pick it up used for $600 to $700, it would be a great pickup. But aside from that, before we get into the actual camera lens, I do want to say that this 16-80, there is a minor firmware update that you probably want to download and go ahead and patch, because most of these minor firmware, they do fix bugs. They don't tell you exactly what bugs they're fixing, but it's almost always worthwhile to do on the lens itself. So definitely go ahead and download that and upgrade your lens. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the 16-80 because a lot of people have been asking me about it. I just haven't had my own copy, but I was lucky enough to actually use it for a couple of days. So I do have some ideas, and I just want to give you a quick kind of 4-minute review on it because I don't really do lens reviews all that well. Kind of trying to figure that out still, but here are my general thoughts on it. Number one, it is a fantastic all-purpose lens, and this is the first lens that I actually purchased brand new for my Fujifilm systems. Pretty much all my lenses that I've purchased so far have been used, or they've been a part of a camera body package because I really need that zoom range. It's very useful to me. And what I will say is that most of these all-purpose lenses, they're really not professional grade, but I would definitely rank this in the very good category. I think it's just shy of excellent because there's definitely some quirks to it that you have to get used to, but overall, if you're a professional, you probably still want to stick with the f2.8 line. Now, does that mean the 16-80 isn't really meant for professional use? That's not what I'm saying. I guarantee you there will be a lot of people that will use the 16-80 for professional use. It's just that if you're planning to use this for professional use, you probably want to plan to use the compact primes or to go with the f2.8. Now, for my purposes, I definitely would use the 16-80 for professional video because it makes a really great run and gun lens for static shots like interviews in which you have to set up very quickly. That constant f4 aperture and the nice wide zoom range from 16-80 just makes it very easy to use. So for professional video, f4 is more than enough, plus the zoom range is really great and the image quality is solid for video. Now, if you're using it for photography, there's definitely going to be lenses that's going to beat it out for image quality, but overall it's still very solid. If you're not a pixel peeper and you're really not looking for the straightest lines or any distortions, you're going to find that the image quality coming out of this lens is very good, borderline excellent, and I actually have no problems with the image quality. Like I said before, I really need the 16mm wide angle because I do a lot of vlogging. I like to do a lot of wide angle shots, so that 16mm is super important to me, and there's not a lot of lenses in the Fuji lineup that kind of fit what I want to do with lenses. So this one is particularly useful to me, and I would definitely use it in professional scenarios. In fact, for all of my run and gun videos, I always prefer optically stabilized lenses because it just makes life so much easier to do because it just gets rid of all of the jitters, and there's a lot of good lenses in the Fuji lineup that is optically stabilized. Now, if we were to compare it with this lens right here, which is the 18-135, which I've owned for quite a while, and I do use this for video. If I were to compare it to this lens, I think 9 out of 10 times I would always opt for the 16-80 because it's just a little bit better in image quality and stabilization. And I find that it's a little bit smaller, so that's just a little bit easier to carry around. So in terms of recommending this lens or the 16-80, I think I would opt for the 16-80 as a recommendation most of the time, unless you really need the zoom range on the 18-135, but that's for your particular scenario. I personally would probably rank the 16-80 in my top 4 to 5 lenses. For me, the top lens on the Fuji lineup is definitely the 10-24. Like I said, I really like wide angle lenses. I like vlogging with them, and I also think that the image quality coming out of the 10-24 is excellent. The distortion on it is very well controlled. I'm just super surprised every single time I use it for video how well controlled the distortion is for such a wide angle lens. This is definitely my favorite lens for hybrid shooting. The next one after that is definitely the 16mm f1.4, which is the de facto studio lens that I use. In fact, I'm recording this video with a 16mm right now. It's definitely my favorite talking head video lens. It's just that the 10-24 is more versatile. That's why it ranks higher than the 16mm f1.4. The next one after that is probably my zoom lens, which is the 55-200. I really love this zoom lens. It's compact enough to where I will bring it everywhere with me, but it also has that great zoom range and the sharpness is excellent on it. It's a little bit odd at the 200mm, at least for my version of the lens. I kind of like it at around the 180, maybe 190, but right at the very edge of 200, it gets a little bit weird, at least my copy is. But even with that little quirk, I still love this lens. Super sharp, really love the compact nature of it. It is a little bit heavy in terms of, Fujifilm lenses, but it's definitely still one of my favorite lenses to have with me. Love it for video and for photos. And then I think the 16-80 would fall somewhere in 4 or 5. There might be some other lenses that I would choose, but it's in that range. I really haven't spent a whole lot of time with it. I've only spent a couple of days, but it's definitely a great all-purpose lens and it takes some great video and great photos. So that's kind of my quick review of it. If you actually own a 16-80, definitely leave what you think in the comments below because I would love to hear what you think. But that's all I have to say this week. Thank you so much for watching. It's been a very busy couple of weeks for me, so I haven't been able to create a whole lot of content, but I appreciate you watching. I hope you have a great weekend and I'll see you in the next video.